Hello, I'm Couch Potato Chen and I wanted to cosplay Paimon as emergency food, but it didn't come with a headpiece halo thing, so I decided I wanted to make it. Most of the materials I used to make this emergency food Paimon came from Dollar Tree, so did this green foam circular thing. I'll put the name of it on the screen. I figured I could use a box cutter and shape it into the correct shape, and yeah, it worked out pretty good. I ended up needing to sand a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. Here you can see it actually taking shape and failing completely at sanding, so I ended up using this pipe thing. Honestly, anything with a smooth or flat surface would have probably worked. It's just what I had handy, so that's what I grabbed. I feel like I never really know what I'm doing when I'm making cosplay. I just kind of make it up as I go, but I mean, it's looking pretty good so far. Here I'm just marking the areas that I know I need to cut off to give it the right shape. If you've ever done any sort of sculpting, you probably can understand this a little bit better. But yeah, I just shave off the parts that I marked. Heads up, if you ever do anything similar to this, it's really messy, so you're gonna want to keep cleaning in between sanding and cutting and such. Next, I used air dry foam. So the green foam thing is way too porous. There would be no way I could paint on it, so I needed to cover it with something without adding too much weight because I was going to be carrying it on my head. So air dry foam is usually great for when I want things to be really light, so I just kind of grabbed clumps of it and used my fingers to kind of like smoosh it around and try to evenly distribute it around the halo. I think I'm gonna call it a halo. Well, she's not an angel, so maybe, I don't know, her crown, a headpiece? I know, that head thing. I needed to do the air dry foam in different stages. First the top, then the bottom, just so that I would give it time to dry. But because it's really hard to get it really smooth, I would wait for it to dry just a little bit and then bring in some water and use that to smooth out any of the bumps or imperfections. I found this works the best if you let it dry a bit before you bring in the water. If you add the water too soon, it becomes really mushy and sticky and it doesn't work out. It should only be a little bit slimy. Once I let that fully dry overnight, I am kind of a perfectionist, so I went ahead and sanded it a little more to make it really nice and smooth. So now it was ready for me to do the whole process all over again, just on the bottom. As you can see, this PVC pipe attachment was really handy in this project. Toby insisted on supervising a lot of this process. So once I let that dry overnight again, I was able to sand any of the joining sections so that you could not see them anymore. Sand. I wanted it to look really nice and pretty. To make the front decoration of Paimon's headpiece, I freehanded it first and to make the shape, and then I traced it onto some foam, cut it with an X-Acto knife and a smaller version of an X-Acto knife. I don't know, I found this pen, it's really cool. Cleaned up any edges with the scissors, and to prevent from it curling up a bit, I used 3D dimensional Mod Podge magic thing to cover it all up. Let that dry overnight, then cover it in air dry foam. Once it was fully dry, I could erase all of my mistakes with my Dremel. With that done, I just needed to figure out where to place my little decoration and also where to cut. Yeah, there's a section that's missing in this, so got to get rid of that. But now that I have its post foam, I had to cover it up, so I tried a couple of different methods. This didn't work, so this is the method I went for. I just put hot glue, put it on a piece, and then cut it out. That worked out a lot better. That way I could fit up the edges and cover the space with a little bit of foam just by grabbing tiny little pieces and then dragging it with both my fingers and tapping it down. Now it's finally time to paint it. This is the color that I used. I made sure that it matched the actual outfit. See, I tested it on that piece that I cut out. As you can see, there's another one right there that I had done in the past. It didn't look so great. Anyways, I painted it, and once it was nice and dry, I could paint the bottom. I think the last little bit that gets covered in paint, it's the most satisfying, so let's watch. And nice. Raise your hand if I made you uncomfortable. All right, for this next part, we gotta draw Paimon's little details for the crown, so I freehanded that with a pencil and then went in with a darker pink. I used a small brush and an even smaller brush to clean up the lines. This was definitely one of the harder parts. Even with the 3D magic and me snapping it, it still curled up a little bit, so I added some lightweight wire in the back and hot glued over it so I could paint over it, and then it wasn't as noticeable. Next, I used various pinks to highlight some areas and emphasize some details. Once that fully dried, I was able to attach it. I use super glue for this because it's fast. But side note, if you've been using this, am I supposed to be using protective gear? Because I looked it up and I couldn't find anything. But this thing makes my eyes burn. Anyways, now that it's attached, it's looking pretty. I was very happy with it at this point. Almost forgot, I sprayed it with this to seal off the paint. The next part was trying to figure out how to attach it to my head. I came up with this idea that I was going to use a headband, but I needed some sort of clear sticks. I found this plastic, but I decided it was too flimsy. It wasn't going to be able to hold the weight of the halo. So I used these. Let me explain what this is. So specifically, it's the edge of this container right here where the lid goes on. The plastic is pretty thick, and I cut it off with some scissors, and it was really strong. I was able to hold the weight. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of this because it was all experimental. I wasn't expecting it to work as well as I actually did. But yeah, you're just gonna have to trust me on that one. It's plastic from a container. Okay, so to attach these strips, I super glued them down, and then on the part that it attached to the headband, I sewed the front and back to add a little bit of extra support. Up here, it's just super glue. To attach the headband to my wig, I used some wig clips in a nude color. I could not find my nude ones to record this little clip, so this is what you get. But yeah, my headband has some fabric on it, so you could just sew it down to it. Here you can see how they're attached. I just dig them into the wig cap and snap them into place. I added 3 in total, 1 in the middle and 1 on each side, the right and the left. I also made little holes in the wig cap so that I could stick in the headband edges. I just found that this helped it be even more sturdy and help with adjusting it to make sure that it stays in the middle a lot better. I waited to style the wig until after I was done with the headband so I could use the hair to cover the headband as much as possible. And this was the result. Thank you for watching my video. Here's a message from my cat. Toby, what would you like to tell people? Huh? Tell people. You're here interrupting my video. Come on, don't eat the mic. Tell them something. Purr. Give them some ASMR. Yes. You do the voiceover for me now.